Hello everybody, welcome. I hope everyone's keeping well. Welcome to our event, Google New Frontiers. Thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedules, as I know Q4 is a really hectic time for all of us, me included. My name's Paul Cox. I look after some of the areas which we'll be discussing today in our display and video platform DV360 across EMEA. Now, normally we would be doing this in an office and I would be connecting with you face to face, but this year we're doing things differently to connect with our customers. And that's exactly what today's event is all about. New ways of doing things differently to connect with your customers in new moments and get increased value for you as a business when you do it with Google Tools. We're really looking to take you to the bleeding edge of advertising today, and we're going to be unveiling some globally never before seen content and opportunities. So you're really in the right place if you're thinking about what is that next big thing or next big thing I need to be doing. This event for me is a new frontier of its own, as we attempt to connect you with a bunch of experts from around the globe virtually. We've got a fantastic agenda for you, which we hope really engages you and inspires you to think about new formats and channels, but new ways of operating. The New Frontiers name, it was initially intended to focus on what you see in our agenda: planning, advanced TV, audio, digital out of home. Now, whilst it is all of those things, in recent months, the world has changed around us, and that name, New Frontier, has kind of really taken on new meaning. We're really in a new frontier of our own as individuals, as teams, as companies, as marketers. We're all doing things differently to what we did in 2019. So after today, we'd really love to partner with you to really understand, how you're thinking about doing things differently going into 2021 and where Google's New Frontiers can help you. If you would like to ask a question or share an opinion, anything that you want to share or ask across any of our presenters, underneath the stream, you will see a link to a form which you can then ask your question or share an opinion, and we'll get back to you straight after the event. But to start the journey, I'd like to give you a warm welcome and introduce Paul Coffey from our EMEA leadership team, who's really going to get us thinking about a new frontier that we don't always consider in our thinking when it's not a format or a channel. I'll hand it over to Paul to explain more.
Thank you, Paul. Hi, everyone. My name is Paul Coffey. I am Google's Director of Platforms, Partnerships and Ads Privacy for Europe, Middle East and Africa. So there's an exciting new frontier upon us. We believe that new technology solutions can help drive better outcomes for your campaigns. And it's something we call the precision era. So when you think about it, our industry has not been a real stranger to change. We've come quite a long way since even I started off back in 2000, 20 years ago, in online advertising. Back then, we used the best of the offline world and applied it to the new media opportunities that we had. So we took, classic large audience groups and demographics. We applied those to a top list of websites linked to those demographic profiles. And then technology like DoubleClick came along, which improved our ability to drive better measurement and to consolidate buyers in one place and to optimize the campaigns we were buying against. We call that the broadcast era as a reference and homage to the old world. Then we moved to the precision era. As technology got better, we hit this golden age of programmatic, which enabled us to hit the right person at the right time for the right budget. We were able to optimize bids in real time. However, some of these techniques became outmoded when user sentiment and regulatory frameworks meant that we had to start evolving our approach to driving online optimization and marketing. And this is why we think we're now in the predictive era, which is where we can move campaigns into a smarter mindset, made possible by advances in analytics, in cloud computing and machine learning. And in that way, we're able to build better experiences for our users and also drive higher performance outcomes for campaigns. And we'll look back at the blunt techniques of the precision era in the same way as we look at those quaint old days 20 years ago. And whilst the predictive era offers a lot of promise, there are also major structural challenges to overcome. This ranges from evolving consumer behavior across multiple surfaces, their changing expectations of what they expect in terms of consent and privacy, but also customization. Also, ever-evolving regulatory changes on what's permissible. And structural challenges around data strategy and technology solutions and the partners that you need to execute those solutions through. And we can boil these challenges down to 3 simple statements. We'll be working with less data, we're operating in a more complex environment, and have to be privacy first. At Google, we've developed over many years technology solutions which we believe can help you address these challenges. Google Marketing Technology enables marketers to tap into real insights across media and channels to predict consumer intent at scale. You can put the right actions behind that power and go from a fragmented planning approach and chasing intent around the web to building an engine that predicts what people need throughout their user journey. And much of what we deliver here is centered around the power of machine learning. As industry changes and which are putting limits on the amount of personal data and signals that can be used, Google's advances in automation and machine learning and prediction will become even more important for delivering relevant ad experiences and reliable measurement for marketers. Machine learning and automation, and that could be attribution modeling, smart display campaigns, universal app campaigns, are there to help marketers reach desired audiences and measure their effectiveness of their campaigns without having to rely on outdated models of planning and data collection. So it's a pretty exciting future. We've got solutions in place such as Google Marketing Platform and Cloud Services, which we think are a really powerful technology proposition for you. And they help you build solutions to better understand that customer journey within the constraints and the realities of today's user experiences, better predict customer and marketing outcomes in a much more intuitive way than we've ever done before, and also personalized experiences to ensure that you deliver the best quality user experience for all of your customers and opportunities. A good example of what we can do in the market was from Rituals, as a luxury bath and body business founded in Amsterdam in 2000, and they scaled their audiences by leveraging Google Analytics 360 to create audiences based on the highest probability of conversion. And then they share these audiences with DV360 to activate insights through new campaigns. And that drove an 85% increase in conversions and a 15% decrease in cost per acquisition. And they're not stopping there. They're now pulling in lots of offline data and information from their CRM systems and email and melding that all into one overall data lake within Google Cloud to build an even larger audience cohort to drive their activities even faster than ever before. So the future of digital marketing is definitely being transformed by technology. So big data, artificial intelligence, immersive technologies, machine learning. They're all ways which we can improve the way that we drive campaign performance and look at marketing strategy. But really, it's not really about the future, it's about the now. So the challenge is, are you prepared for today? And this is really the theme for the rest of the sessions that you'll be watching throughout this day. So that's it for me. Thank you for connecting with me on this session. I'm now going to hand you over to Minai, who will take you through our developments in media planning. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Hey everyone, my name is Minai Bui and I lead our global product strategy for planning tools and display and video 360. I'm really excited to be walking you through the latest developments to our media planning capabilities. And in this session, I'll be sharing with you details on our most recent launches, how we think our tool can add value to your planning process, and give you a sneak peek in what's coming on our roadmap. So first, we know that reach is critical for agencies and marketers when building brands and businesses. Advertising and media campaigns are often planned, bought, measured, and evaluated based on their ability to effectively reach a particular audience. So this concept isn't new, but how we reach those audiences has definitely evolved. And as you'll hear throughout this event, and also having likely experienced it directly yourself, we've seen an evolution of content and technology in this new frontier. Across EMEA and around the world, there's an explosion of content, and this, along with the growing number of smartphones, tablets, and connected devices, has really presented new opportunities to reach customers throughout their day. Now, whilst this is no doubt incredibly exciting, it also presents challenges to planners, traders, and marketers like yourself. So how do you navigate this complex and increasingly fragmented ecosystem to reach the customers that you truly care about. And this is all before we even take into consideration what's going on in the world at this very moment. We're all experiencing something completely unprecedented, and many of you are under immense pressure to help your customers navigate this fast-evolving, unpredictable situation. And while this time is undoubtedly challenging for everyone in our industry, we hope that our tools can at least provide some level of support to you during these uncertain times. Our Reach Planning tool in Display and Video 360 first launched last March, and we originally built it to help you and your clients better understand the opportunity to reach your audience. Our team's focus has been to help you effectively and accurately plan your media campaigns, and this continues to be the case during this time when we're seeing monumental shifts in consumer and advertiser behaviors. Now, while we know that the future is incredibly difficult to predict, now more than ever, we're focusing our efforts to continue improving our forecasts, improving our tools to support you as you navigate through these uncertain times. Just quickly too, for those of you on the call who are unfamiliar with our Reach Planning capabilities, I wanted to share a quick recap of what our tool does and some of the unique benefits that the tool offers. So first, the tool allows you to understand how many people your programmatic campaigns are expected to reach by accurately forecasting the unique reach and frequency of your media campaigns brought through Display and Video 360. The tool also allows you to explore how combinations of Google, first-party and third-party audiences impact the reach of your campaigns. And last but certainly not least, the tool is available globally. It's directly in the UI so that you can get accurate forecasts quickly and take action on those. Our forecasts also leverage Google's unique reach methodology. And so this is being used by your teams and the teams that you work with for reporting and measurement. And hopefully this helps you better connect planning to buying to measurement and have a really complete view of your overall campaign. Since we first launched this tool, we've heard directly from you on how valuable this feature's been in helping you build better plans and help you plan media campaigns, particularly as more of your clients are embracing programmatic technology. And you've shared with us how our Reach Planning tool has helped you and your teams figure out how and where you should allocate your media budgets, understand the potential reach you can achieve through the platform, and most importantly, provide accurate forecasts to ensure you deliver on the plans that you put forward. We know how important this is to you and to agencies like OMD New Zealand, who kindly shared this quote that you can see on the screen now. And we've been working hard to ensure that our planning tools can continue to support you now and into this next new frontier. So with that, I'd love to share with you some exciting features that we've recently launched to our platform. The first is a dedicated user role for media planners. Now, we know that media planners are increasingly being held accountable for how well an ad campaign actually delivers against the plan. And as more advertisers embrace programmatic, we're seeing deeper collaborations between traditional media teams and agency trading desk teams when it comes to planning programmatic campaigns. So with these deeper collaborations, we've heard from you that you wanted media planners to have access to our reach planning tools so that they can understand the potential reach that they can achieve through the platform. And this is exactly why we created this dedicated user role, so that media planning teams can access the tool and feel comfortable without being worried about impacting any live or upcoming campaigns. We also know that a lot of your media planning teams are already using Google Ads Reach Planner today to plan their YouTube campaigns. So we recently revamped our UI in Display and Video 360 and made it consistent with the Google Ads Reach Planner UI to reduce training needs across your team. This way, if your client is buying media through Display and Video 360, your teams can use the planning tool in Displaying Video 360 and understand the reach of YouTube alongside the rest of the campaign without having to be an expert of the DV360 platform. We've also recently launched a beta called Default Settings, which is an assistive feature that helps you save time by applying the most commonly used settings to your plan. Now, this feature can not only provide efficiencies in your planning process, but we believe can also help media planning teams better navigate the tool. So we know that when it comes to programmatic buying, there are many controls and levers that impact the overall reach of your campaign. But these may be too tactical or granular for media planning teams to have knowledge of. So with default settings, teams can have confidence that the forecast that they see in the plan will actually be delivered. And then finally, we launched publisher and URL forecasting to beta. This is another step towards allowing you to plan and understand deduplicated reach across your entire digital campaign. So that was a very quick snapshot of a few of our most recent launches. And as we look towards the future, our vision for planning in Display and Video 360 continues to be focused on providing an intuitive media planning experience that allows you to reach your audience and meet your campaign goals. We will do this by providing you with actionable insights, forecasts, and recommendations across all of the media you buy on our platform. And as we look to 2021 and beyond, we're continuing investments into this product area. So, as promised, here is a sneak peek of just a few things that we'll be focused on next year. First is closing the gap on coverage. We want to allow you to plan across all the media you buy on our platform, and that includes deals that you've struck with publishers. So coming very soon to beta will be the ability to forecast existing deals and deal IDs you have in the platform. This will allow you to understand the deduplicated reach across your overall campaign, across YouTube, Open Exchange, and all programmatic deals. So this includes programmatic guaranteed deals, as well as non-guaranteed deals such as PMPs. This launch will also help you better plan for emerging formats such as CTV and audio, which we know are mostly transacted via deals today. Another major investment area for us will be focused on leveraging TV data to enhance our reach planning capabilities. With TV data in reach planning, you'll be able to discover what that optimal mix of TV and digital budget is in order to maximize the reach of your media plan. And to do this, we'll be using actual historical TV data along with simulated digital data in a single reach curve to help you understand the incremental reach that digital can deliver as a complement to your TV campaigns. Something else we'll be focused on is expanding signals and coverage to better support planning for emerging formats such as CTV and audio. We know that planning is a critical part of the overall buying process for these formats. And while support for deal IDs is a great first step, we know that there's more we can do to enhance the planning capabilities to help you more effectively plan for these formats alongside the rest of your campaigns. And then finally, as the ecosystem continues to evolve, we remain focused on improving our forecast methodology, our signals, our coverage to help you better plan and navigate these changes. And of course, we welcome your feedback and partnership on areas where we can continue to innovate to better support your planning needs. I hope you found that useful and that you're just as excited as I am on the future of our planning tool. Thank you so much for joining us virtually today. As you can tell, I am really excited about this tool and by the positive feedback that we've heard from customers, but there's more that we can do. So if you're already using the Reach Planning tool, please continue to share feedback with our teams. And if you've not yet tried the tool, I encourage you to do so and welcome any and all feedback that you may have to help us continue to improve. For any questions, please submit them via the form below. And thank you. Take care, enjoy the rest of the event, and until next time, I'll pass it back to Paul. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much, Minai, for showing us around the planning areas of Display and Video 360. It's been really exciting to see the journey of planning over time in recent months and years, how we can now give media planners that certainty around the kinds of reach they're going to get for a given budget within a programmatic context. And that really shows that bringing that programmatic trading and that media planning worlds together in the same platform can be really powerful in an integrated way. I thought it was really exciting to see how publisher deals can now be forecast out within that tool. So look forward to seeing more developments within the planning environment. And we're going to turn our minds now from planning to advanced TV. And with that, I'm going to hand you over to Marielle and the team to tell you more.
Hi everyone, my name is Marielle Mindlin and I lead our global strategy for connected TV in Display and Video 360. I'm thrilled to share with you today the exciting opportunity that connected TV brings. The evolution of TV is in full effect with a user behavior shift towards digital video. Now, some might say that that means that TV is dead. However, we do not believe that's the case. For just some examples to consider. The amount of drama shows has more than doubled in the last few years. Streaming providers like Netflix are spending billions of dollars on new content. Parties like Disney Plus are an example of how traditional broadcasters are evolving into the digital space. TV and TV content is not dying. If anything, it's significantly growing. And what's exciting about the connected TV space is that it creates a whole new opportunity for marketers to reach their audiences who are viewing this content. As you can see from the stats on the screen, throughout Europe, connected TV usage is skyrocketing. And the amount of time consumers are spending while watching connected TVs is also increasing, especially in the last year during this pandemic and during shelter-in-place restrictions. Now, these new streaming habits do offer a huge opportunity for marketers to reach their audiences, including those harder to reach younger demographics. In addition to the proliferation of streaming content and usage of connected TVs, it's important to understand that connected TVs are a new device type that's really at the epicenter of where digital meets TV. So first, what is a connected TV? It's a TV that's connected to the internet, either natively, like a smart TV, or via an external device, like a Roku, a gaming console, a Chromecast or Fire Stick. And with digital, you have this one-to-one lean forward experience with all of the very detailed targeting and measurement options. And on the flip side, you have linear TV. It's a very lean back experience, typically enjoyed one-to-many. And connected TV sort of sits right in the middle, where it has that same lean back one-to-many viewer experience like linear. However, because it's internet enabled, there are many more possibilities to achieve your reach in a much more efficient way. So at Google, our priority for building out programmatic connected TV in Display and Video 360 is really centered around 4 different pillars. The first being accessible. We want to enable marketers to access the content and audiences that they're looking for. The second being efficient. We want them to achieve their reach in a way that drives operational and media efficiencies. And measurable. Being able to measure the outcomes, improve your return on investment. All of this is grounded in a privacy-first approach. Display and Video 360 is the only DSP that has access to the biggest connected TV platform out there, which is YouTube. YouTube is the #1 in reach among all ad-supported OTT and connected TV services, and the #1 in viewing hours. My colleague, Vincent, will go over a lot more YouTube-specific details in the next session. However, I wanted to highlight here that the reach marketers can achieve by incorporating YouTube into their connected TV buys in display and video 360 is immense. So while YouTube has the best reach on CTV already, you can even further extend your reach by adding additional premium third-party broadcasters into your mix. Now, as connected TV usage continues to grow, more and more streaming providers, as well as traditional broadcasters, are entering the connected TV market. And access to third-party connected TV publishers in EMEA is continuously growing. It's a huge focus area for our internal teams to make sure that we're able to provide access to the most strategic BVOD, broadcaster video on demand, and AVOD, ad-supported video on demand services, so that marketers can effectively maximize their reach through our platform. And as more and more content providers enter the space and their inventory is made accessible via programmatic pipes, it can be a challenge to keep up with all of the options that are available. That's why in Display and Video 360, we launched our new TV marketplace to help marketers easily find those publishers and packages that best match their campaign objectives. And to streamline the workflow, marketers can kick off negotiations for one-to-one deals with these publishers directly from the marketplace. Now, in addition to Marketplace, we have a full offering to help marketers effectively buy connected TV. We recently launched a brand new dedicated TV buying workflow. This streamlined experience only features options that are most relevant and important for connected TV ads. And it also enables you to target over-the-top content at scale. Now, frequency management is one of the traditional digital benefits that extends to connected TV, which helps marketers drive efficiency with who they're reaching and how often. Brand safety is extremely important for all brands. And with our platform, marketers can be at ease knowing that their brands are safe. And due to our extensive categorization features and filters, marketers can include or exclude specific digital content labels and sensitive categories. And of course, measurement. With unique reach reporting, marketers can understand how many people their campaigns reached and how many times. And then they can also measure brand lift on their YouTube campaigns and improve campaign effectiveness mid-flight based on the learnings. I want to call out that the overall ads ecosystem is evolving. Examples such as browser updates, changes to cookies, and of course, regulatory changes. This all shows how important it is to future-proof your marketing strategy. And connected TVs, even though they're a new medium, that doesn't mean that they're exempt from a changing and evolving environment. And at Display and Video 360, we're extremely focused on the importance of privacy and protecting our user data as the industry evolves. So our product is meant for the widest reach. We need to take a very thorough approach to make sure we're developing a sustainable, privacy-safe connected TV environment. And to make sure we're doing that, we support the IAB's identifier guidelines to make sure we're maintaining this high quality and privacy-safe advertising experience. We take this very seriously, and we think that this is an important place to start our connected TV offering, and it will help us create a sustainable offering for the future. Viewer behavior when it comes to connected TVs is much more similar to linear TV. And according to the IAB's Europe Connected TV Guide, connected TV viewings occur in a very similar time pattern as linear TV, with peak times of usage coming at those prime time hours. Another similarity is co-viewing. People gather around the TV and watch content together, and there's no difference when it comes to connected TV. A survey by SUBTITLES of the top 5 markets in EMEA showed that only 24% of people are watching connected TV alone. So as we look to the future and we move forward in this connected TV world, we're building out capabilities to make sure that marketers are better equipped to understand the full audience that they're reaching on a connected TV, and that they're able to measure that reach accurately. So in summary, you can partner with Display and Video 360 today and in the future to access YouTube and other premium broadcaster inventory, consolidate your buying to gain those important media and operational efficiencies, and measure the impact of your campaigns on connected TVs. And then, of course, all while ensuring a privacy and brand safe environment. And with that, I will pass it over to my colleague Vincent, who will dive deeper into our extensive YouTube on TV screens offering. Thank you.
Thank you, Marielle. Hi, everyone. My name is Vincent Prinseau, and I am a regional product expert for reach and awareness on YouTube. Specifically, I'm here today to talk to you about YouTube on TV screens. So, why TV screens matter? Well, first thing to see is that it is YouTube's fastest growing screen in all our markets. And it is growing really fast. 85% watch time growth over the last year in the UK, or a 70% year-on-year growth for Germany and France. But what is really interesting to see is that this impressive growth does not necessarily mean that TV screen is only nascent when it comes to YouTube. In fact, this is already massive in most of our EMEA markets. Over 20 million people are watching YouTube on their TV screen in the UK every month. That's 40% of the UK digital population. And there are over 15 million in Germany and France, and over 9 million in Italy. Like on any other device, people go on YouTube for the wide variety of content they can find on the platform. Still, we see some dynamics that are specific to TV screen. Because YouTube on the big screen allows for bigger image and better audio, we see higher than average watch time growth in content categories such as feature-length movies, live content, TV shows, and sports. And we see different user behavior when people engage with YouTube on the TV screen. It's often enjoyed with others, unlike the more individual experience on the mobile device. In a recent custom Nielsen study commissioned by Google in the US, we found that 26% of the time, multiple 18+ viewers are watching YouTube together on the TV screen, compared to 22% on linear TV. Now, let's have a look at some of the unique capabilities you can leverage on YouTube to connect with your audience on TV screens. A few primary examples of this include high-impact formats, advanced audiences, effective frequency management, or video ad sequencing. The masthead is YouTube's most prominent ad placement that drives massive reach for advertisers by putting their brands in light of YouTube's millions of engaged viewers. It appears historically at the top of the YouTube home feed on mobile and homepage on desktop devices. It is now available on TV screen with an incredible and impactful user experience. And you can also now use extended targeting options as well as frequency capping and flighting on the masthead unit. You can also leverage YouTube on TV screens to run your regular in-stream formats. Think bumper ads, TrueView for reach, and non-skippable ads for reach and awareness purposes, and TrueView CPV for consideration goals. As on other devices, you can access the whole range of YouTube targeting capabilities on CTV and customize your buys to the audiences that are more important to you based on demo, interest and habits, and intent or action. One audience that can be particularly interesting to leverage on the big screen is live TV viewers, so that you can maximize coverage on people that are harder to reach on linear TV. Video ad sequencing is an approach that empowers brands to tell the story in a chapter-like series of video ads delivered to a consistent audience as they move through content across devices. Research shows that video ad sequencing has a positive effect on brand metrics across the customer journey, and when done right, can open up new forms of storytelling and connection between brands and consumers. This is an approach that works well for TV screen, as well as in combination with other devices. The last capability I wanted to talk to you about is measurement. On top of unique reach and frequency reporting that is available through Google Ads and DV360, I'm glad to announce that we are now able to measure the brand impact of your CTV campaigns using brand lift surveys. And this works on YouTube through all buying doors. Now, how to take action? How to make the most of the connected TV opportunity on YouTube? First step is to add a dedicated TV screens campaign to your cross-device campaign. Cross-device is obviously still key to deliver massive reach and frequency on YouTube to match your media goals. And by adding a dedicated CTV campaign on top, you're making sure that you are following eyeballs and maximizing your presence on the big screen. And also, try the YouTube masthead on TV screens to capture attention of all YouTube viewers on for a new, impactful ad experience in the living room on the homepage of YouTube. Thank you so much.
Welcome back, everybody, and thanks so much to the team there for presenting Advanced TV. I thought it was really interesting to see the developments both in DV360 as well as our very own YouTube in this area. Now, users, as we know as marketers and as we saw, are watching video content like never before. We're also listening to content like never before when we look at music streaming, radio streaming, podcast, and other types of audio formats. So with that, I'm going to hand you over to Red Apple, who's going to really set the scene around the power of the audio format and what this can do for marketers.
The following session is best enjoyed with headphones, so please put in your headphones, sit back and enjoy.
Here at Red Apple Creative, we're known as the audio agency. We create audio ads, podcasts, and we plan and buy audio every day. So what better way to show you the audio space than to deliver our session today using only sound? So let's dive in to why audio is seeing such a boom. Audio is going from strength to strength, with recent years being coined as the golden age of audio. With the rise of smart speakers and apps like YouTube and Spotify on our phones, and therefore in our pockets with us wherever we go, the connected world means that audio has become an anytime, anywhere experience. On an emotional level, which is key to successful advertising as we all know, audio has the power to move us. Known as the most personal medium, programmatic audio has opened a world of creative possibilities, where data informs ideas to help brands drive deeper, more authentic connections. We're a world away from the old generic broadcast message. Now we can start to tailor how we approach audio spots based on what we know about the audience, their likes, their behaviours, their moods, combining this with our understanding about the context in which they are listening. People are now soundtracking their days with playlists, radio and podcasts. And as an advertiser, it's key to listen to these moments before speaking to your audience. Let's imagine we wake up and put on our yoga playlist to ease ourselves into the morning. We might be listening to gentle music as we stretch it out during our downward dog position. And now imagine an ad for a brand new blockbuster action movie interrupting our moment of zen.
In a world threatened by a giant robot, only one thing can save the future of humanity. A dinosaur with a heart of gold and a bite of steel. Witness the fight of the century. When it's the future versus the past, there can only be one winner. Robots vs. Dinosaurs 3 in cinemas now.
Well, it would certainly wake us up, but it's not the ideal fit in a moment of calm. However, it would be perfect if you were targeting film podcasts or a behavioural segment of thrill seekers. Something that might fit more seamlessly is a beautiful piece of immersive or 3D audio using nature sounds. Here's an advert we created using existing show assets, which we turned into 7 different 3D audio spots for the BBC's 7 Worlds, 1 Planet campaign.
Asia. 7 Worlds, 1 Planet continues Sunday on BBC One and BBC iPlayer. Click now to experience more.
The beauty about great audio is that it can be incredibly visual, and it has the power to take us all around the world, perfect for travel clients. Audio's theatre of mind draws from our memory to create pictures in our imaginations. So not only can we travel the globe, but we can create super fun fictional scenes with just a few sound effects. Here's an example of a client we worked with who had animated video assets. They struggled to see how these ads could translate into sound. So rather than explain, we showed them. Here's one of 6 audio ads.
The Sour Patch Kids were a naughty little bunch. They snuck into a giant rocket ship once with a big red button that said, "Do not press." But one little guy did, and boy, it was a mess. He shot through the stars like an acrobat, and his buddies did nothing, just stood there chewing gum. Now imagine that. Sour Patch Kids gum, available in stores. Sour Patch Kids, sour, sweet, gone.
Aside from having great fun painting worlds with sound, you can use music as a powerful storytelling tool. The FDA wanted to warn young audiences about the dangers of vaping and the risks of inhaling deadly metals into their lungs. The solution? To reverse genre target. We chose to target people listening to upbeat genres like pop music with a purposefully disruptive spot using metal music to underline the client's message. Here's the ad.
Metal doesn't belong in this playlist, and it doesn't belong in your lungs. If you vape, you can be inhaling metals like nickel, chromium, and lead that can injure your lungs. Know the real cost of vapes at what'sinavape.com. Brought to you by the FDA.
Using data as part of your creative approach really helps to make your audio campaigns more personal. And we can't touch on personalization without thinking about dynamic audio. Dynamic audio is a way to deliver hundreds, thousands, possibly millions of variants of your brand's message. You can deliver the right message at the right time to the right audience based on the real-time signals being received. The main lookout for dynamic audio is to make sure that it adds value to the listener. Don't make something dynamic just for the sake of it. Ask why and what problem it solves or what unique quality it adds. Dynamic audio is perfect for always-on campaigns with frequently changing messages, or geo-targeted offers across large retail, auto or FMCG verticals. And dare to think differently with Dynamic. The music you can hear comprises of several mixes cut together of the world's first advert, where the music mixed itself dynamically. We composed individual music elements and used a dynamic randomizer function of the technology so that each sound bed would randomly create and mix itself under the locked voice, making the ad itself a piece of unique composition and audio art. The ad was for a world-renowned arts and music university, with a brand message about different perspectives coming together, so the fit was perfect. Here's the ad with the voiceover for context.
You know pi is 3.14. A haiku has a total of 17 syllables. 5 gigahertz is faster than 2.4. But how do you describe yellow? Can you quantify it? And how do you know your yellow is the same as mine? It's like this music. Every element has been randomized, so everyone could hear something unique. So maybe your version of yellow is different to mine after all. The world is full of opinions, ideas, and voices. It's time to find yours. Endless possibilities. One Goldsmiths. Search Goldsmiths, University of London.
So finally, let's recap on the best practices to consider when you're making award-winning audio campaigns in the future. Always tailor your message to the context and split into multiple messages for multiple audiences or platforms whenever appropriate. Consider the data to get more personal with the creative idea, and use Dynamic when it adds value or creative functionality to underline the campaign message in a clever way. Finally, immerse your audiences with standout 3D audio production. And most importantly, only ever put a dinosaur in at an appropriate moment. I've been Kathleen Moroney, Creative Director of the audio agency Red Apple Creative. Feel free to reach out to us anytime for advice, ideas and production on all things audio. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. Thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Kathleen. I don't know about you all, but my eardrums are still tingling after that audio demo. I love how audio creative can really hook in the listener and capture their imagination and, their attention. So, as a quick intro, I am Emma Crawford Prajapati. I am a creative product lead here in EMEA, and we're moving into now a more visual demo where I'd like to show you one of our new creative tools that launched earlier this year called Audio Mixer. Now, I just want to acknowledge one of the things that Kathleen said in the last section, which is really that a lot of people do dynamic creative on audio, well, to be honest, on all formats, but definitely on audio a little bit for the sake of doing it and not necessarily where it really suits the goals or the objectives or the creative efforts. And while at Google, we are working towards a new dynamic audio solution, hopefully launching early next year, we have in the short term launched Audio Mixer, which I think is important for users of DV360 to sort of take some time with, because it will help get them to understand and work with audio and the individual assets that are required. You can do your own beginnings of testing and learning and adaptation, but that also means that you'll be in a better place to actually tackle audio creative once it's ready and launched. And you'll already have some basic understandings. You'll already know how to work with the different elements and assets. And I think that will be pretty powerful. So getting straight into it, this is our format gallery UI. You should have all seen this before. And obviously it has all of our creative formats, but what you may have seen, hopefully, in the last couple of months is audio and Audio Mixer. So I'm going to take you through Audio Mixer's UI. This is a tool that allows you to upload all of the individual audio assets, mix them, and then deliver a final creative campaign or a final creative of audio. So you would come in here and you can upload your voice assets, music assets, and different sound effects. You can upload actually 5 assets per creative. Then you can add your landing page URLs. The effects tab is probably the most important piece, because here you can actually start tinkering with the individual creative elements. And then you can upload your companion creative. So whether it's HTML5 or images, and here you would then be able to see everything you've uploaded here. This area is to preview, so you can click the little eye and then see the actual companion creative, the display creative, and then the final audio asset. And then in this section, you would just change the name or add any serving properties and things like that. It's pretty standard for the rest of Ad Canvas. So instead of watching me upload assets, I'm just going to flick to another tab where I've uploaded some assets that I already have. Now, we have a set of fake brands here in Google, and I'm going to talk about Vibrato, which is our auto brand. So I've uploaded the voice track and the voiceover, the sound effect, which is effectively a car engine, and then the music track that we have for our Vibrato brand. Once you've uploaded these tracks, you can then start moving them. So you can actually move these individual tabs, dragging and dropping if you want them to start a little bit later. So for example, I actually do want the voice to start a little bit later. And I do want the car engine to start towards the end. And then I would want the music to be a little bit shorter. And I can drag and drop that as I need here. And as you can see, it just updates on the fly. But you can also obviously do this in the audio section and in the effects section as well. So I'm going to want to change the fade out and some of the gains, which I've already updated here. And I definitely want to sort of trim the sound effect. I actually do the most work to this. And instead of you watching me do this, I have already done it in another creative. So when I flick here, you'll see in this one, I've already uploaded the URL. I've actually uploaded an image, which you can see here, the 300 by 250. And I've set up these creatives so that they are offset and have the gain set correctly so that I have a final creative. If I now click off this and press play.
Whether you're moving into a new place, playing hooky when the surf is up, or planning a picnic in the park, the Neuron can take you there. With lightning fast charging and 250 miles of electric range, we're here, wherever life takes you. Test drive the Neuron at your local Vibrato dealership.
Great, then that's it. I hope you take some time to go and explore Audio Mixer in your DV360 accounts. Do a little bit of testing and learning. So if you've got any creative tracks, you can set up and start building your audio campaigns. And thank you very much for listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. Hi, everybody. My name is Elizabeth Elsner, and I'm a global product lead on audio. So by now, you've heard a lot about the importance of creative when it comes to audio advertising. And you've also just gotten a taste of some of the tools that the teams are working on to help you get started easily. So now, here you are, you have your audio creative, your best-in-class audio, super impactful, but what are you going to do with it? So I'm going to take the next few minutes to talk you through how you can actually drive reach and impact performance with your audio ad. To get started, we're going to do a quick recap. What do we mean when we say digital audio? Where is this running? So on this slide, on the left-hand side is just traditional radio. This is the bucket that we think of when you're listening to radio in your car, etc. On the right-hand side are the 3 different, slightly different buckets that all make up digital audio. There is online radio. This is radio that's streamed over the internet. There is music streaming, things like Spotify, Pandora, and there's podcasts, all of which you have access to if you're running programmatic audio through Display and Video 360. So why is reach into digital audio important beyond that traditional radio segment? It's been around for a really long time. a lot of people use that in their everyday life. This probably comes as no surprise, but digital audio is becoming increasingly exciting. And it's an exciting space to work in, specifically with ads. And frankly, we believe it to be an underutilized channel for marketers. In fact, as you can see in the slide, eMarketer predicted that this year, 2020, would be the first time when adults would spend more time listening to digital audio content than they do terrestrial radio, traditional radio. Again, probably not a huge surprise, just based on how you're likely consuming content today. Beyond this, initial data indicates that this is likely even accelerated any predictions we had around the space because of COVID-19. And in fact, the mobile market is probably accelerated in general 2 to 3 years because of this as well. Why is this happening? There are lots of different factors that are coming together to really drive this trend. Part of it's the continued growth of popular music platforms like Spotify, YouTube Music, the emergence of podcasts as a major media phenomenon. And of course, it's this proliferation of new internet connected devices like smart TVs and, assistant technologies, smart speakers, etc. What I like to focus on when we're talking about audio is that it's not just a new medium, but it's actually new moments, it's new opportunities. People are listening to digital audio when they're not really reachable with visual formats, because this is happening when they're relaxing, when they're exercising, when they're working from home, as well as when they're in consideration moments, when they might be searching for something in their primary tab, but the audio is on in the background. All of these moments provide opportunity for us to build awareness and drive incremental reach. I'm sure you're sitting there thinking about all the different moments of your day where digital audio is part of your life. I know for me, I can't start my day without listening to the New York Times podcast. It's called The Daily. And I give my 9-month-old his first bottle while listening to Sesame Street Radio on Spotify every single morning. This slide goes into the details of the incremental reach we're seeing of music apps beyond just radio all across EMEA. And as you might suspect, music apps also allow us to go beyond the existing reach of audio, as the user base has slightly different profiles. So we can reach even more of the population by combining radio with music apps, if the objective, of course, is incremental broad reach. And these are just some examples. This piece is really important. Not only are clients seeing reach by extending beyond radio and capturing attention during new moments, but marketers are improving reach by consolidating their existing video and display buying with audio in the exact same platform. In this example, we compared a standard display and video campaign in phase 1, and then added in audio in phase 2, but we kept the budget and frequency exactly the same. The results went really well beyond expectations, with significant incrementality by reaching new users, again, in new moments and environments. And also, since we were able to control the frequency across all channels, they were able to not overexpose the same user, and we can better utilize their investments to reach new ones. And finally, just to bring it full circle, as you heard earlier today from Red Apple, audio ads are really unique in that from an impact perspective, we have 100% share of attention when you're listening to an audio ad. And so as a result, you're not facing the same congestion and banner blindness as display formats like we can. As you can see, I just pulled out a few stats. There are plenty to choose from, but something like 60% increase in brand recall compared to different industry benchmarks. And something that's really interesting is for multi-format campaigns, when you're layering on audio plus video, we're seeing huge momentum driving this just calls out purchase intent, but across all different brand metrics as well. This really speaks to the ability of sound first experience to capture user attention, and they're valuable as a complement to video and other formats as well. And that concludes my section. I will pass it over to Melodie from our YouTube team for a super exciting update, and thanks for joining.
Thank you, Liz. Hello, everyone. My name is Melodie, and I'm a global product lead who looks after YouTube audio ads. Whether it's to squeeze in a quick living room workout before dinner, or to catch up on the latest episode of a favorite podcast while cleaning the house, people continue to adjust to spending more time at home, and they're turning to YouTube to help. This is an opportunity for you as a marketer to revisit how you connect with people, using creatives and messages tailored to the various ways your audience turns to YouTube in their daily lives. With this in mind, we're introducing audio ads, our first ad format for listening on YouTube. Audio ads are joining the suite of YouTube ads so you can extend your brand story across even more relevant moments, whether YouTube is being watched front and center or playing as the backdrop to daily life. Since we are building for background and moments on YouTube, audio ads are characterized by creatives where audio soundtrack plays a starring role in delivering your message, while the visual component is typically a still image or light animation. Let's listen to an example of what an audio ad from Google Fi sounds like.
Google Fi is a different kind of phone plan with simpler pricing and smarter coverage. Connect to over 2 million hotspots and 3 different 4G LTE networks, all under one simple, flexible plan by Google. Learn more at fi.google.com.
Some creative best practices we recommend are: get your product name up front. You want people listening to know who you are. Clearly state the benefits of your product or offering. You want to make sure that this is easy to follow simply by listening. Don't let music or sound effects overpower the announcer. Remember that audio ads go directly into listeners' ears, so avoid extremely annoying or jarring sounds. Make the visual simple. Users likely won't see it, but if they do, you want to help direct them towards an action. Which brings us to our last point. Include a call to action in the audio or visual. Help direct the user towards what you want them to do. In the past year, we ran a trial version of our product, which demonstrated that over 75% of measured campaigns drove lift in brand awareness. We were thrilled to see such successful results in our alpha. Across the board, advertiser results were positive, demonstrating both lift in brand awareness and ad recall. These are just a few of the brands that we have participated in the alpha. We look forward to bringing this solution to even more brands. One of the biggest changes we are making, going from alpha to beta, is a huge improvement in the UI and DV360. During the trial setup, YouTube audio campaigns were extremely manual, as we were still testing this format. With the beta, buying YouTube audio ads will become a first-class citizen in DV360 with its own supported buying workflow in the UI, creating a native, seamless, and easy buying experience for advertisers. And as you can see from the image, it's currently nested within the YouTube line item. Audio ads are available in beta via auction on Google Ads and DV360 on a CPM basis with the same audience targeting options, bidding strategies, and brand lift measurement capabilities as your other YouTube video campaigns. Using both video and audio ads together, you can reach more users with the ad format that's best suited for their YouTube experience. To start using audio ads on YouTube today, speak to your Google representative. Thank you.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Acast's presentation for Google's New Frontiers event. It's a pleasure to be here speaking to you all, albeit virtually, about the power of podcasting. My name is Josh Woodhouse, Director of Sales for Acast UK, and if you've not come across Acast before, here's a little roundup for you. Quite simply put, Acast is the world's largest podcast company. We have more than 20,000 shows worldwide on our network and deliver more than 265 million listens every single month. We have presence in 13 different countries around the world, more than 200 audio-loving staff, and crucially, we offer the most sophisticated tools available for both creators and, of course, advertisers. We like to think of ourselves as the engine that powers the 3 pillars of podcasting, from creators to listeners and then, of course, our advertisers too. Now, let's get going, shall we? With a quick look at the podcast market here in the UK. As you can see, the latest Midas report from spring 2020 shows that 10.1 million people in the UK now listen to podcasts each and every week. That's a considerable 18% of British adults listening to the audio content they want, when they want, and where they want. We often refer to the podcast market as the fastest growing medium in the UK. And to put this latest figure into context, that represents no less than a 29% increase in unique listeners year on year. We also know that not only are more people listening than ever, but they're also listening for longer too, with the average person consuming 7 hours of podcast content each and every week, a considerable commitment. Then, when we look at the makeup of the podcast audience itself, all reports show that listening between genders is largely even. But one of the more exciting things that you'll see here is the broadening of reach across all ages. Long gone are the days, when podcasting were only good for reaching a core 25 to 34 male audience, for example, as we've seen an influx of both Gen Z listeners and those perhaps deemed slightly later adopters in the 45 plus audiences. That said, the value of this audience has not been subject to change, as we see podcast listeners tending to be affluent, educated, influential in their own right, and far more likely to be an early brand adopter. And it's also worth noting that they're typically hard to reach too, with 84% claiming to be either non or light commercial radio listeners. So it will come as no surprise that advertisers have already woken up to the power and influence of podcast advertising. And this has been evidenced by the IAB and PwC's prediction that podcast ad revenue will tip over the $1 billion mark in the United States alone by 2021. Clearly, with the rest of the world thrown in, this figure will be even higher. So people are listening to podcasts more than ever, which provides advertisers with scale and diversity in the audiences they're able to reach. But what I really want to drill home is the unique environment that podcasts provide for advertisers. However, I'll actually let one of our very own superstar creators tell you why podcasts are so special. This is Alan Cumming, actor, comedian, writer, and perhaps most importantly, host of the Homo Sapiens podcast.
Hello, I'm Alan Cumming, and my podcast that I host with the lovely Christopher Sweeney, called Homo Sapiens, is on the Acast network. Now, why I love being a podcaster is that I feel out of all the things I've done, it's the way that I can be the most unfettered, unguarded, and just authentic, and really relate to people. And I love the way that it inspires me to be better in terms of the messages I'm giving out, but also I learn so much from the response I get from it and the people that we interview. So it's a win-win situation, actually. And Homo Sapiens has been a really great addition to my kind of creative life.
So as Alan so eloquently described, it's podcasters' authenticity that means that listener engagement is unlike any other medium. Podcast listeners truly are an attentive, active, and lean-in audience. Thanks again to the latest Midas research, we know that 90% of podcast listening also happens alone. And this offers brands the invaluable opportunity to tap into a consumer's passion point and have a one-on-one conversation, cutting through the background noise associated with wider audio mediums. And we know it works too, with 76% of listeners telling us that they've actually acted on a brand message heard within a podcast. So hopefully you're all now wondering how to get involved, right? Well, let me tell you about the Acast Marketplace, the home of podcast buying globally, and inventory that is now available, of course, on Google's DV360 platform. As I mentioned at the top, our network boasts more than 20,000 podcasts, and this slide illustrates the vast range of world-famous talent and revered publishers that have chosen to be with Acast. And most importantly, the Acast Marketplace is the only place you can advertise on all of these shows. Another crucial thing to mention too is that Acast is a big believer in the open ecosystem of podcasting. What that means is that we make all of our content, and therefore all of our clients' ads, available on every app, platform, and device there is, from mobiles to smart speakers to Apple Watches and in-car apps, and all of the podcast listening platforms too, from Apple Podcasts to Spotify to your very own Google Podcasts, and of course, our own Acast app. The Acast Marketplace is also at the forefront of innovation within podcast advertising. In fact, we invented dynamic ad insertion, now the standard for podcast advertising worldwide. And more recent developments include AI and machine learning powered tools to enable keyword targeting that brings the power of contextual advertising to a whole new level, a crucial step with cookies being phased out across the digital landscape. And finally, our programmatic offering, Acast Automated, gives advertisers the flexibility and scale to deliver and achieve success, whatever their marketing objectives. And that's just about as much as I can squeeze into a 5-minute presentation. I hope you've enjoyed hearing a little bit about the fantastic opportunities presented within podcasting. And you can start straight away by searching Acast in Google DV360 or visiting acast.com, or perhaps even by dropping myself a message at josh@acast.com. I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you very much for your time.
Welcome back, everybody, and thank you so much to everyone who was presenting the audio content there. Look, I'm just going to put it out there. Is 2021 potentially the year of audio after everything that you've just seen and heard there around audio? I thought it was incredibly interesting to see how we're building creative authoring tools directly into the platform which you're already planning and buying your media in DV360. And I thought it was so impressive to see what's going on from YouTube as they think about audio formats from a publisher which we already know and love as users and marketers, and also how they're thinking differently about coming into the audio market with an auction-based format, as well as already supporting deals when we think about that audio is largely transacted by deals today in the programmatic environment. So I think we've kind of taken you on a little bit of a journey here. We've gone from planning at the beginning of the campaign process through to the user who may be engaging with their phone or their device around advanced TV, to how they may be out and about in the street listening to audio content as you can find them in new moments, and thinking about as they're out and about in the street, they may come across billboards, and that takes us into our next topic, which is digital out of home. So I'm not going to kick us off from this section, but I will be presenting some of the content later on. Firstly, I'm going to start with Kate from JCDecaux and then Gavin from VIOOH, who are going to really set the scene around the customer benefit of out of home. And I'm going to give you a little bit more detail in a moment about what we're doing specifically in DV360 in out of home. So with that, I'll hand you over to Kate.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everybody. My name is Kate Tovey. I am the Director of Commercial Strategy and Business Transformation at JCDecaux. So I'm going to spend 5 minutes talking to you about the value and benefit that out of home can bring and how we hope to help you make the most of your media spend. I'll start by giving a brief introduction to our business. JCDecaux is the only international outdoor company that is exclusively dedicated to out-of-home advertising. So we're very proud of the expertise that we have built up over the past 50 years in understanding global cities and their populations. We operate in a variety of different markets and environments, ranging from high streets and bus stops to transport hubs and airports, to shopping destinations and busy arterial routes. Now, as media consumption is becoming more fragmented, out of home remains a key medium that surrounds audiences in their everyday environments. Our increasingly sophisticated audience measurement systems show that we are one of the last remaining true broadcast channels, with out of home as a whole typically reaching about 98% of the UK population every week in the UK. Now, as with other channels, we have, of course, felt the impact of COVID more strongly in some environments than others. It is, however, really reassuring to note our live audience are showing that in the UK, across some environments, we are back to 80, even 90% of pre-COVID audience levels. Now, the rapid digitisation of the out-of-home environment is really starting to accelerate the technology innovation. And it means that we can communicate faster, more effectively, and with greater flexibility. Which brings me on to the key question for today, which is how can out of home add real value to your media plan by positively influencing the brand funnel and driving business outcomes? So there are 3 areas that I want to briefly cover. Each really is a sizable talking point that we won't really be able to fully do justice to today. So in the bullet points, I've actually signposted some further reading that can be accessed on our JCDecaux UK website. The first is audience. Now, I've already spoken about out-of-home's ability to deliver big reach and to do so quickly. But we've also seen huge advancements in data-driven targeting. The power of out-of-home has always been location, which combined with more sophisticated audience segmentation that you might be using for your online or mobile buying, for example, means a more targeted and omnichannel approach. All of our real-time audience tracking info can be found on our Back to Business hub. The second thing is priming. We think that there is a really powerful combination of public marketing and private marketing working together to create trust and to deliver enhanced outcomes. We have actually researched P²+C=5 publication that looks at out-of-home's priming effect across the brand funnel. Specifically, the effects of using digital channels to retarget people who have been exposed to out-of-home. We are seeing some really positive shifts in awareness and conversion, specifically footfall and bricks and mortar sales. But interestingly, also in consideration, which is something that we have termed as part of this study, the golden metric. We live in a world where it is hard for brands to gain attention now more than ever because of COVID. Our research is suggesting that trust is key to driving attention. And with out-of-home being in the public domain, it offers perhaps a bit of a shortcut to gaining that trust, which then primes audiences before they're exposed to other digital activations online. Finally, I want to talk about creativity. The creative concepts that exist in online and the best practice that you're also out of home. Context is really important. Smart data-triggered activations deliver relevant messages to audiences at exactly the right time. So whether you're reacting to weather, as Starbucks have very effectively done here in this picture, or pushing different products at times of day, or perhaps even tapping into different moments, moods and mindsets. All of this means that we can reach audiences in a more engaging and contextually relevant way. I've already mentioned that attention is a limited resource because we live in an age of information overload. And our latest neuroscience studies are telling us that more attention equals better effectiveness by helping people through the funnel from awareness to conversion and driving these really strong business outcomes. So now I'm going to hand over to Gavin, who is here on behalf of our SSP VIOOH, and he'll talk to you through the specific programmatic opportunity in a little bit more detail.
Hi everybody, my name is Gavin Wilson. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at VIOOH. VIOOH is an SSP. We work with media owners around the world to help them monetize their inventory across traditional, digital, and across a programmatic exchange. And that exchange, that programmatic element, is something I'm going to talk to you about now just for the next few minutes. Now, programmatic has moved forward a long way in the last few years. Obviously, programmatic, very, very important in other channels, and it's fast becoming so in the outdoor market as well. It's no different to other channels in the sense that it offers that huge ability to target customers, both upper funnel and lower funnel, and of course can use data and precision to engage with that audience. So it really is both a broadcast channel and medium and a lower funnel, more direct response medium, often when positioned alongside other channels. So three key things I just wanted to highlight today, I guess, to reiterate the benefit of the out-of-home programmatic part of any media campaign. The first is that it is a really great way to leverage certain triggers and certain messaging. So for example, a la programmatic in other markets, you can ingest data and use data to help make those key trading decisions via the DSP. And those triggers, of course, can be things like weather, they can be things like time of day or location of frames, or they could be things like the UV index, for example, when the UV index getting to a certain level, perhaps ads want to show. And we've run some really clever campaigns recently for brands looking to use really clever bespoke triggers. For example, another campaign whereby the emissions in the environment help to trigger a certain environmental message. So really, as you can see in that point one, those influential moments and messaging can deliver high percentage uplift when there's really contextual relevance subject to that trigger, that moment, that reason for an ad to show at that particular time versus another. The second is when the programmatic outdoor market is used to leverage or enhance other channels. And that often can be alongside mobile. We find that obviously mobile with the geolocate mechanism, consumers on the move, goes really nicely hand in hand with that outdoor messaging. So we're finding many brands tending to want to use the programmatic element of outdoor to coincide with the mobile messaging as consumers are moving and going about their everyday lives. And again, certain frames can be used, certain time elements, certain data can be ingested in to only show ads on certain frames. But once again, when activated alongside a mobile campaign, we're seeing that, again, really strong propensity to convert, really strong case studies as well, demonstrating consumers engaging much more with media, both on mobile devices and, of course, with that outdoor media message as well. And the third quite powerful way we've seen that the programmatic arm of outdoor is being utilized is when we are also enhancing that customer experience when we're planning omnichannel. So many brands now using the programmatic, the flexibility of programmatic outdoor alongside those other channels. So for example, planning it in early enough to work alongside a video message or a display message or a mobile message, as I mentioned earlier. And I think, you know, having that out of home elements that is really flexible, that can show media as and when, and obviously can really interlink to what that omnichannel customer plan and engagement plan looks like, really is a value. You know, programmatic certainly from an outdoor perspective can be interweaved into everything that's done across other channels, and it really means that the consumer has that great end-to-end experience of a brand, which, as we all know, with our consumer hat on, is incredibly important to have that real feeling that a brand gets you and resonates with you and connects with you, and actually you're only seeing that really relevant media at that right time in your everyday journey. I also just wanted to highlight two final things that I think that programmatic in the outdoor market really is offering. There's a real convenience factor. There is in other channels, of course, but in the programmatic outdoor arena, the ability to trade, you know, very simplistically, very, very kind of up to that moment, up to that mindset. In a COVID climate, of course, that's really important to have flexibility. But in any other climate, it's really important to be able to target an audience, to allocate spend, to set those triggers, and then obviously to drive media messaging against that audience, you know, through that convenience, and not necessarily have to look too far ahead or necessarily have to get too precise, which is really important at the moment, of course, in an ever-changing kind of world where budgets need to remain fluid. And I guess the last part is the flexibility and precision. You know, the ability to have that real seamless movement of budgets from channels to be able to over-index or under-index and change and buy according to where perhaps an audience may be, or perhaps where a strategy may be, or perhaps where results may be. And we're finding in the programmatic outdoor market a lot of control tests now, a lot of kind of A/B tests, and a lot of methodology now that allows to really understand the uplift of audiences, whether that be going into stores or allocating or consumers looking to kind of develop a service or interact with a service. And that really is something that can be tracked, and that precision added with that flexibility really ensures that whatever those triggers are that you set via your DSP, then actually you can really monitor and measure customers against those. So I think the takeaway really is that programmatic in the outdoor market now, it's really quite refined. It's really becoming quite advanced. It's definitely offering that upper funnel brand awareness through mass scale, but it's also offering that lower funnel omni-channel measurable ability to really interact with precise audiences using those triggers, be it weather triggers, time triggers, or even those more advanced, sophisticated triggers. So yes, thank you for listening. Obviously, do reach out after the event with any further information. And yeah, we look forward to hoping to work with you all soon. Many thanks.
Hello everyone, thank you so much to Kate from JCDecaux, who really set the scene there as to why out of home is a really important medium for us to be considering in our marketing plans and the benefits of the out of home medium to our marketing. And then Gavin took us through some of the transition that's been happening in out of home in recent years, as it's now accessible through programmatic channels. And I'm going to start to take you into some of that detail now within DV360 about what we're bringing to market both now and what we're going to be working towards for digital out of home. The starting point really that our mission continues to be the same as it always was. Bring all of the channels that marketers have possible across display, video, audio, and now out of home into one platform so you can gain efficiencies in the process all using the same tools in one platform, as well as other marketing campaign efficiencies when we look at consolidation in other areas. And what does that really look like? So, we're really aiming for simplicity, but, when we looked at, for instance, fragmented ways of buying direct IO and then bringing that together in a consolidated way within our platform, we saw 29% benefit in those efficiencies. And we think we can start to transfer that into other areas such as out of home. Really, the way that we're going to be bringing out of home to market is going to be very familiar to you if you're already using our marketplace tool within DV360. Your one-stop shop, which you've always known to be able to find and discover the most premium inventory, now includes out of home. And here's an example of what that looks like. Within our area where you can access YouTube and other premium content across digital, TV, audio, for instance, you're now able to access out of home. And here's an example of our launch partner, JCDecaux. So, a new area in our platform, but a very familiar workflow. And the workflow to be able to book a deal is also going to be very familiar to you as you discover inventory and then reach out to the publisher to be able to not just discover, but negotiate and then book that all in one platform from DV360. We're going to be offering transparent choice to buyers so they can granularly select the exact billboards that they wish to buy within the platform. Now, they don't have to do this. They can select the billboards they wish to buy, and then the media owner is able to send back amendments to that if they have a better understanding of the media that you want to buy in DV360 when they send that response back in the RFP. But this was a fantastic option for buyers to transparently select the screens that they wish to buy. Now, looking more into the detailed features that we're going to be bringing to market, as far as the inventory supply goes, we're going to be focusing our launch with Intersection and JCDecaux, covering New York and other cities in the US with Intersection, and across the UK with JCDecaux. You'll be able to discover that inventory and plan within DV360 in the view that I just showed you a moment ago. You'll also be able to upload your creative and have that automatically sync to the media owner. And once that negotiation is also finished in the buying mechanism, your campaigns and your IOs will be set up automatically as well. So there's a small degree of automation there that we're adding value to you from an efficiency standpoint in your workflows. The method in which we're supporting them from the outset will be a reservations type buy. So thinking about guaranteed fixed volume type buying, which typically is how out of home is already bought today. And then lastly, from a measurement standpoint, you'll be able to access audience impressions within our reporting tools, both in the UI and our usual reporting area. So looking ahead, what are we working towards in the future? Now, we're not quite there yet, but what we want to work towards is simplicity. I'd say we are there largely on the simplicity side. When we think about the transparency, discoverability, negotiation, buying and measuring all in one platform. But where we also want to work towards more intensively over the next 6 to 9 months is thinking about scaling that opportunity beyond the markets and the media owners, which you just saw a moment ago. And then if we think about the notion of speed, planning and buying and executing an out-of-home campaign today can take days and weeks. We want to be able to offer that down to minutes. If both parties, from both the buyer and the seller, have the appetite to do that and execute that rapidly, we want to be able to support that in our platform and really be able to offer that ability to go into this new medium rapidly with the creative assets you may already have from your digital buying, or new creative assets you want to bring into the platform. So really, really exciting stuff from Google, and hope to hear more from us in the coming months as we start to build out new and exciting features within digital out-of-home in DV360. Now, with that, I'm going to hand you over to Nico, who's going to talk to you about privacy, a super important topic for us to all think about as we go into a privacy-first world that's critical for us to consider this pillar.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, everyone. My name is Nicola Roviaro, and I'm responsible for data privacy across EMEA, with a focus on our advertising solution. As you've heard today, the digital advertising ecosystem is changing very rapidly. Evolving user expectations for privacy are at the root of this change. Users are becoming increasingly concerned about the privacy and security of their data online. And this is what drives the massive regulatory and technological shift happening. Before the pandemic, the pace of change was already fast. COVID-19 catalyzed existing patterns. As an example, searches for online privacy have grown globally by more than 50% year over year when comparing April until June 2020 to the same time in 2019. As more people go online, more often and in new ways, it is critical that we take the opportunity to restore and sustain user trust in digital advertising. Google's approach to this changing ecosystem is grounding on the three principles of user transparency, choice, and control. And that drives our efforts to raise the bar on user privacy, starting from our consumer products. We believe that users should be able to easily see and understand how their data is being collected and used for ads. They should have choice, and they should have the ability to control and adjust their choices at any time. In this moment in time, it's paramount for our product teams to keep addressing key marketing use cases in cookie-constrained environments, and more in general where less user signals are available. Finally, our approach to defining future industry-wide standards to replace third-party cookies and identifiers is grounded on enabling a free ad-supported internet. In the next few slides, I'm keen to share with you a bit more of our work on these three areas. Privacy and security have been core to everything we do since our earliest days as a company. My Account is the one-stop destination where you can manage your privacy and security to make Google products work better for you, including managing your ad personalization settings and choose to auto-delete your data after a specific period of time. In 2019, we saw people make more than 2.7 billion visits to their Google account pages, and nearly 20 million of people around the world visit it every day. We have also built tools to make controls easily and directly accessible in our various products. As an example, we have expanded incognito mode across our apps and launched various auto-delete tools accessible via one click or one tap. Looking at our advertising platform, we are committed to helping marketers and publishers achieve their goals with less user signals available, delivering relevant ads and measuring campaign investment, leveraging machine learning and automation. On the measurement side, we are investing in privacy-centric, cloud-based infrastructures that allows customers to join their first-party data with data coming from their Google advertising campaigns, and better understand the impact of their paid media on their specific business and marketing objectives. And more in general, you will see new features coming in our ads product to leverage first-party collected data. Third pillar of our approach is continuing to enable a safe, free ad-supported internet. This includes developing new technologies, privacy-preserving alternatives to third-party cookies and similar identifiers, which have become obsolete technologies. In late 2019, our Chrome teams put forward a series of proposals called Privacy Sandbox to seek for industry-wide collaboration to design, launch, and scale new ways of addressing common marketing and security use cases. For example, relying on cohort of users with similar browsing interests. We have been very pleased to see a lot of collaboration from industry players already in developing this proposal, including companies such as Criteo, RTB House, and others. Some of these proposals have already moved to an open trial stage. If you haven't done it yet, check out our Chromium blog post for more details. In parallel to developing Chrome's Privacy Sandbox proposal, we are also working with industry bodies like the IAB Tech Lab, REARC, and many others around the world to develop standards and solutions that work for everyone. There are no silver bullets on how the future will look like. This is a large and complex problem that requires a multifaceted response from tech bodies, tech standard bodies, browsers, operating systems, publishers, advertisers, and tech platforms. In summary, the ads ecosystem is evolving rapidly and challenging established methods of ads targeting and measurement. Google will continue to build for a privacy-focused future and is committed to offer you high-capacity infrastructures, safeguards to keep user data secure, and future-proof ad solutions built for new frontiers of digital marketing. So join us in shaping this new era. Thank you for listening to me today, and I'll now hand over to Paul Cox to wrap up today's session.
Hello everyone, we're almost there. Just a few short words from me to wrap up today's show. I want to start with thanking you for taking the time to engage in today's content and taking time out of your schedules to watch the show. Hopefully it was useful, interesting, thought-provoking, how you can take Google's new frontiers into your marketing moving forward and really extract value for you as a business from using those new frontiers to reach consumers and customers in new moments and interesting ways. I also wanted to thank the content producers for all that they've done in producing the content that you saw today and connecting them all in virtually, globally, inside and outside of Google. I think we did a good job of that. You'll be the judge. Please do share any questions that you had on today's content that you saw, any opinions in the form that's underneath the stream that you're watching now. And with that, I just want to say thank you from me, and that's all for today.